How embarrassing. I guess my stream cut out. Let me make sure it's up again. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Working. Weird. But all I did was the quick start, the control rig quick start. So I went through this really fast, the tutorial here, and got this up. So cool. Cool, 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 cool. Yo, these are cool. I like messing with this. Fun. How do I delete this though? I don't. Alright. Let me get rid of this, and this. Compile. Alright. So the tutorial just said, like, pick a bone that you want to use, go to new, and new control. You can click this or do Control N. So Control N, and then you can select it here, and you can hit Shift P to unparent it, and that's how it'll end up down here. Hit compile, and select it, and go into shape properties. Change this to circle thick, or whatever you want. You can change the color here, and then under shape transform, you're gonna do 90 degrees, and you're gonna lock the scale, change to 3, and hit unlock it, compile, and then that's how you're gonna get this this shape right here. So once you have that, drag this in here, get the control, then you're gonna go back up to the bone, the head that it's supposed to control, and instead of get bone, you're gonna set bone. You're gonna hit execute on forward solve, and then the transform is gonna go into the value, and then you're gonna hit compile, open your thing, drop your control rig in here. It's gonna open the sequencer. Then you can select your head, and then press S to save a keyframe. Then scrub the timeline, and then do an animation. Hit a S again, and then let's get a couple of in there. Go ahead and set this to be the end, and then Ta-da. So that's how you do that. Get rid of all that. Delete her. And that's the control rig. Yay. So that's that. Then there's more. There's the rigging with control rig. Start rigging by creating a control rig asset and learning about its various features. In order to animate characters in Unreal Engine, you must first create controls for it. Control rig contains various features and tools to create unique rigs for characters of all shapes and sizes. This page provides an overview of creating control rigs, and the primary features of rigging. So, oh, I forgot that. Yeah, that this was also a part here. So, let me close the sequencer here. So then you would get the skeletal mesh right here. So, see how it's in parentheses, it says skeletal mesh. You just right click on that, go to create, and then control rig right here. And then it'll create one of these right here. It'll have the suffix CTRL rig at the end right there. And then that's what you're gonna use here. That's what this is. Just gonna open this guy up. Click the rig hierarchy to expose all the bones in the rig. And that's how you're gonna get that. The second method is to create a control rig manually. You can do this by clicking in the content browser and selecting animation, control rig. Next, in the pop-up window, select control rig and create. Double click the asset to open it. If you create a control rig this way, you will need to manually assign the skeletal mesh to your control rig asset after opening. This is done by clicking import hierarchy in the rig hierarchy tab, then specifying your skeletal mesh. So in here, right click, or I think it was saying here. I don't know. Just open this, right click, go to animation, control rig, then create, and then give this CR underscore phase. So in the rig hierarchy, import rig, then select phase GDC, hit OK. That's going to take a while. Refer to the control rig editor page to learn more about control rigs. Control rig editor. Okay, so now that's all imported, and you have essentially the same thing that I had over here. Bingo, bango, bish bosh. Delete. Oh, this is where they went. Yeah, delete that. Don't know how that works. Get rid of these two. Paragon minions, down minions, animations? No. Meshes. These are all skeletal meshes, right? Okay. So then on these ones, I can create control rigs then. Where's their head on this thing? Control N. Circle thick. 90 degrees. Shift P. Compile. And cool. This rune thing, I'm gonna have to delete. So one is toolbar, viewport, big hierarchy, rig hierarchy. No wait, did I say big? I meant rig hierarchy. Rig graph and details. The control rig toolbar contains buttons and settings for previewing behavior and control rig construction. The buttons with specific control rig functionality are as follows. Compile. Similar to blueprints, control rigs must be compiled in order to fully save and begin executing their logic. Clicking this button will compile your rig, as well as visually provide feedback on whether or not your rig needs to be compiled. You are required to compile whenever changes are made within the rig hierarchy. This can include adding, removing, reparenting, or renaming controls, bones, or spaces. Recompiling is also required when creating variables. The compile button also resets your controls after you manipulate them in the viewport. Solve direction. The solve direction button switches between different solver event chains. Use this to preview different solve directions. Each option is associated with the rig graph solve direction event node. Selecting an option will begin previewing the solve chain. Forwards, backwards, and forwards. Okay. Auto compile. Enable auto compile to set compiling to automatically occur when you make changes in the rig graph. This includes actions like creating and linking nodes. All other changes mentioned above will still require you to manually compile. Debug object. This drop-down menu links the control rig viewport to an active control rig in a simulating or playing session. This previews the current control rig animation from that session in the control rig viewport. Class settings. The class settings button toggles blueprint class settings to be visible in the details panel. The shape libraries property is located here, which can be used to change the control shapes available to you when rigging. Visit the Control Shapes and Control Shape Library page to learn more about this feature. You can also access control rig Python commands such as Python context and copy Python script. I know Python. Blueprint.getController underscore by underscore name and then an empty string dot add link rig unit get transform. If you want to save a command to share or use elsewhere, you can select any line from the log and press Ctrl C to copy it. Then you can paste it in any text editor. You can also select multiple lines by holding Shift. Python context is used to contextualize which control rig asset should be affected when running Python commands. By default, no context is set when viewing a control rig. You can set the context for the current control rig by clicking Run Python Context within the Class Settings Details panel. Oh man. Import Unreal. I'm so confused a little. I'm a little confused on how Python plays into Unreal Engine. You know? From the viewport, you can preview interaction with the control rig nodes, set different display modes, and debug display. Select the manipulate controls, change and preview mode using the top toolbar. Display axis on selection, axis scale, the size of the axis display when drawing axes from either the display nulls or display axis. On selection options, bone radius, the size of the bones when bones are visible by either selecting them or by showing bones from the character bones menu. Pin control space, when controlling a pin value, you can select an element from this to offset the manipulator to be relative to a different element. Rig hierarchy panel is used to view and select your control hierarchy in an outliner type view. This is also the primary area to create new controls, bones, and nulls. Still don't know what a null is. New null. Create these elements by right-clicking in the panel and selecting New Control Bone or Null. Your selection determines the location where these elements are created. If nothing is selected, the new element will be created at the origin 000. The context menu contains the following commands. New, creation menu for creating new controls, bones, or nulls. Delete, deletes the current selection. Duplicate, duplicates the current selection. Rename, renames the current selection. Mirror, copies your currently selected elements and mirrors the copy along an axis. When clicked, a dialog window will appear where you can specify how you want to mirror action to function. Mirror axis is the axis to mirror against. For characters that face Y forward in Unreal, you can keep this at the default value of X. Axis to flip is the axis to rotate 180 degrees in order for rotations to be properly mirrored. For characters that face Y forward in Unreal, you can keep this at the default value of Z. Search is where you specify a keyword or a letter to search for to be replaced. If you are mirroring a control with the postfix _left, then you will want to write left here. Replace is where you specify a keyword or letter to replace the text used in search. If you are mirroring a control with the postfix left, then you will want to write right here. Letter to replace the text used in search. Opens a dialog window for previewing space switching behavior for your controls. Parent, world, and then plus. Parent is the default behavior where the control will follow any space changes by the parent. World will detach the control from any parent influence and attach it to the world. Click Add button to add any other control to parent to. Copy. Copies the current selection, including the local and global transform, which can be used in conjunction with paste local global transformation. Paste. Paste the current selection. Paste local transform. Paste the currently copied controls local transform. Paste global transform. Pastes the currently copied controls world transformation. Transform. Reset transform resets the currently selected control back to its initial transform. Reset all transforms resets all controls back to their initial transform. Set initial transform from current. After moving a transform in the viewport, clicking this will set the new location as the new initial transform. Using this command, set initial transform from closest bone. Using this command will snap your selected control to the nearest bone and set that location as the initial transform. This is useful for aligning your controls to bones. Set shape transform from current. If you are transforming your control, performing this command will reset the control's pivot point back to its initial transform, but maintain the current visual position of the control shape. This is useful if you want to customize your control's visual position while keeping the pivot the same. Unparent moves the currently selected element to the top of the hierarchy. Import imports a skeleton hierarchy to the current rig. Refresh refreshes the existing initial transform from the selected mesh. This only updates if the node is found. My Blueprint. The My Blueprint panel, similar to that found in Blueprints, contains your various control rig functions and variables. Variables in control rig are meant to be used within your rig graph as a way to drive logic, rather than being exposed directly to an instance in a level. So let's go back to phase, and then spine. Do I have to? Oh man, I have to set this transform for everything, huh? So if I go to this and then shift P that out. Oh boy. What? There is no way. That's so weird. So because this doesn't damn. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Let me see here. The head. If I leave this in the same order it was in, then does it behave? Yeah. That's so weird. That is really weird. But so then why would it recommend to unparent it? That's what makes it weird. If it starts to break, then why would you recommend for it to be unparented? Anyways, Execution stack. The execution stack panel previews the order of operations within your graph. Use this to debug your nodes and evaluate the sequence of events. The curve container panel displays a list of animation curves from your skeleton and provides functionality to control them in the rig graph. Curve container. Huh. Execution stack. The My Blueprints gives you access to variables and functions. Oh, I'm starting to understand it more and more. Curves can be referenced in the rig graph. Curves can be referenced in the rig graph by using the get curve value and set curve value nodes. Okay, so if I go to curve, I don't know, disable hair alpha, legs geo, knee bend. Okay, I'm guessing some curve here, curve value. I can't drag it in here, but I can get the curve value and then set it to the 1. And then I can also do the set curve. And the value here. And there's also another one here, unset curve. So those are for these then. Okay, the rig graph is where you script the control rig's behavior. Hierarchy nodes can be referenced into the graph. By dragging and dropping them from the rig hierarchy panel into the graph and selecting your desired reference type. Set control. You can also create nodes by right-clicking. Search for or navigate to the context menu for your desired node. Similar to blueprints, multiple nodes can be collapsed into groups or functions by right-clicking on your selected nodes and selecting either collapse nodes or collapse to function. Very nice. That I will be using. How do I rename it though? Like, because I don't want it to just be collapse node. Oh. Your functions are accessible from the My Blueprints panel in the functions category. With functions, you can better organize large graphs, repeat logic, and easily share functionality across control rigs. Details. The details panel contains information for your selected elements within the control rig editor. These can include elements such as controls, bones, and rig graph nodes. Selecting controls will reveal the following properties. Name, the name of the selected rig element. Display name, the name of the control as it will appear in sequencer and the animation outliner. If not used, then the name will fall back to what is specified in name. Okay. Control type, the type of control to use. This is used to limit or change the control's data. What's my list now? Control that only rotates, translates, or provides a single property. Animatable determines whether or not the control will be animatable in sequencer. This is useful if your rig has controls that are visual only. Available spaces, an array where you can add predefined custom spaces for your controls, which are used for space switching. Draw limits draws a debug line for transform limits are being used in the selected control. Okay. Draw limits. Control rig editor. Details. Um. The selected element within the control rig editor. Okay. So with the selected element, transform. There's the transform types for the selected rig element. Bones and nulls will only display initial and current, while controls will display initial, current, and offset, and min/max limits. Initial, current, offset. Where's the min/max limits? And I can't disable draw limits. Shape category contains properties for customizing the shape of the selected control. So that's this. Preview scene settings panel contains properties that control your skeletal mesh, animation, and viewport environment settings. Preview scene settings. This. Preview controller. Use the preview controller to play back animations in the viewport. This can be useful when testing how your controls behave when animations playing on your character, or for testing backwards solve behavior. What is backwards solve behavior? Haha. The preview mesh, the skeletal mesh to use for your character in the viewport. You can change this to any other meshy with a compatible skeleton. Clothing simulation factory. The cloth simulation to use in the viewport. There's only one cloth simulation as the chaos. You got a lot of animations. So class simulation to use in the viewport. So I guess if you had a separate one, I don't know how you would even make one, man. Allow different skeletons. If enabled, you can select skeletal meshes with incompatible skeletons in the preview mesh or skeletal mesh properties. What is that? Allow different skeleton when selecting additional mesh, whether or not filtered by the current skeleton. Okay. Allow custom AnimBP override. When using preview collections, enable animation blueprints to override from those collections. Additional meshes, specify a preview collection here. Skeletal meshes, additional meshes to add to the viewport. This can be useful if you are using modular characters. Okay. I think I don't need that right now. Controls, bones, and nulls. I wanna watch a video now. Wow. That thing's getting annoying.
Chaos, Unreal Engine's high-performance physics destruction system. With Chaos, you can completely control massive scale levels of destruction whilst achieving cinematic quality visuals in real time. This destruction is achieved using 4 core components: geometry collections that define which objects are going to be destroyed, fracturing, which defines how these collections are destroyed, clustering, that defines the different levels in which collections are destroyed, and fields, which apply behaviors and effects onto collections within regions of space. Destruction within the Chaos system starts with a geometry collection asset. This can be built from one or more static meshes or blueprints containing static meshes. The easiest way to create a geometry collection is to drag the static mesh to which you want to apply chaos destruction into your level, or use the default editor cube and scale its z-axis to 4 to resemble a pillar. Then we navigate to the fracture mode tool and press the new button under the generate header. Now we select a directory to which you want to save the new collection asset. You also give it a name, such as GC_destructible pillar example, GC standing for geometry collection. Now that we have our geometry collection, we need to define how we want to break it up during destruction. In Chaos terms, this is called fracturing. There are several types of methods available for achieving this, and combining these will lead to more interesting looking destruction. All these methods are based off the Voronoi pattern, which is a way of partitioning an object by using a set number of points, also known as sites. We use these to define regions of 3D space which contain all the points within our object which are closest to that side. These regions are also known as Voronoi cells. To perform fracturing on our geometry collection, make sure it's selected in the level editor and navigate to the fracture section of the fracture mode tool. Then we select the fracture type which we want our object to have. We'll select the uniform fracture pattern, which will fracture our pillar into pieces of similar volume. In this case, we set the minimum and maximum of our...
Cool. I'm pretty sure I could figure that out on here. I'm on controls, bones, and nulls. Solve direction. Jeez. Oh my goodness, there's so much here. Actually, it's not really that much. Oops. Okay, so the primary rig elements used when creating robust rigs and control rigs. I want music.